Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name's Ian Steigrad from the Australian Event Awards. Tonight, before we get started, and we are around the country now, it's important to acknowledge 2020 and the very significant impact of COVID-19 on the Australian events industry. The pandemic and the shutdown has hit every corner of the industry, putting every business at risk and risking the livelihoods and well-being of thousands of our people in our community. There are two groups that I would like to particularly acknowledge tonight. The first is our colleagues in Melbourne. I think it's pretty hard for those of us in other states to fully comprehend the impact of the second wave on the people of Melbourne. The extended lockdown, the loss of iconic events like the AFL Grand Final and the parade, and in a couple of weeks, the prospect of a much reduced Melbourne Cup. The second group is the group of young people in our industry. People who've graduated from university or school in recent years, wanting desperately to get into events. These are young people trying to cut their teeth and compete for positions in an already tough industry, and that was before the pandemic. It's now a lot tougher. To both those groups, I want to say on behalf of the industry, your pain does not go unnoticed. And I want to encourage our industry leaders watching tonight around the country to please go above and beyond to support those groups, in particular as we move forward. We might be a tough, competitive, robust industry, but we also demonstrate the strength of compassion. And tonight, as we celebrate, we need to remember that people are still hurting. I've no doubt that the great Aussie events industry that has, in many ways, led the world for decades, will be back. Of course, we don't know when, and the road may well be bumpy. But history tells us that pandemics pass, that health officials will eventually stop being in charge, and that people will, rightly, demand to go back to the theatre, face-to-face meetings, concerts and stadiums, and they will demand the right to travel to do those things. One key question is where we as an industry will be when that happens. Will we continue to accept the silos that divide business events from public events, conferences from exhibitions, and festivals from sporting events? Or will we have taken the opportunity to recognise ourselves into a single, professional industry body that properly represents the massive contribution that each of you make to Australian life? It's worth thinking about. Finally, like so many events this year, the Australian Event Awards almost didn't happen. 6 weeks ago, we were preparing to give the awards away online. We discussed the options, the studios, the video, the streaming, but I couldn't escape the nagging feeling that anything we did online would be simply a poor cousin to a live event. So I jumped on the phone to some of our key partners around Australia. People have been in the industry much longer than I have, and people who've delivered bigger and better events than I ever will. The response was overwhelming. Do whatever you have to do it live, and don't settle. And then the kicker. What can I do? How can I help? You can have whatever you need. I thought I'd quickly show you this. These are pictures taken a little earlier of Event Awards Control located here in Sydney. These are the people that create the video and linking magic that hopefully will keep us all connected to celebrate together. They're supported by similar teams in each state, and they're all amazing. We've never attempted anything like this. One industry gathered for one event under many roofs. Tonight, the links to Perth are looking a little bit bumpy. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome along for the ride. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Australian Event Awards 2020.